Oh, hey everybody. Hope you're having a good Sunday. Hope I'm actually live. I assume that I am. How's it going? Good day? Bad day? It's bad. I hope it gets better. It's not a bad day here in Vegas so far. We're hitting about 90 right now. It was cool though this morning. Some humidity. We get these monsoon seasons in Vegas where it gets real humid and sometimes even rains. Sometimes just stays humid as hell. So it gets kind of muggy, you know. I don't know. I think our normal humidity is probably like, I don't know, 5%. And I think, if I remember correctly, before people moved into the valley and started putting in pools, the humidity was about normally in the 2% humidity range. So it was like 46% this morning. I think it's down to about 30, but pretty humid though for us. So as I said, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture, the Sunday live show. Got a few things to chat about, and I hate to begin a stream this way, but man deserves to be honored. Rest in peace, Graham Greene. Passed away at the age of 73. Great actor. Maybe best known from Dances with Wolves. It's obviously a drama, which he could do well with. Also did a great sort of a parody of that role in the Maverick film that starred Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster, and James Garner. That is one of those just solid little movies, comedy, just fun, just a good flick. It's just a very rewatchable movie, even though it has a nice twist in it at a certain point. But Graham Greene, very funny in it. He also appeared on the Red Green Show, again doing comedy. So, Godspeed, Graham Greene. Have to acknowledge those folks when they pass, because they do mean a lot to the pop culture of the country. All right. Speaking of the pop culture of the country, saw this pop up this week. I thought it was interesting. So we're going to be talking about AI one way or the other, whether we like it or not. Well, I was going to say for years to come, probably forever now. And it's not really AI. Let's be honest with you. It's not. It's a language learning model that also does graphics learning. It's not thinking. It doesn't know anything. Be aware of that if you're using it. It doesn't know anything. It's regurgitating stuff back from God only knows where, because this word often appears next to this word, and therefore I'll put them together and it'll look like a real sentence. It's not thinking. But there's been a lot of complaints from artists because their art is being used to train this stuff. And the AI proponents say, well, it's the same as if a person is using, your art to train themselves to draw. There's nothing wrong with that. We're allowed to do stuff like that. Okay. But this is coming from a different angle. Warner Brothers, this is reported in Variety, Warner Brothers joining studios' AI copyright battle against Midjourney. So you can argue that learning from art is not a copyright violation. Although I think the way that AI learns, it is. That's my personal feeling. But what these guys are getting down to is it's producing images of copyrighted characters, which is illegal. Now, I saw some folks online in X discussing this, and somebody saying, well, artists do like commissions of these characters all the time. That's fair use, isn't it? No, it's not. It is actually not fair use. When artists draw Superman and make prints and sell it at conventions, they are in violation of copyright. And the owners of those copyrights could go through conventions and say, pull them. You can't sell these. That's illegal. That's our property. You're not allowed to do that. Now, they typically do not. Although, one person mentioned, I saw on X, that apparently Mike Mignola has gone through artist alleys, and if he finds pictures of Hellboy that people have drawn and are selling, he's like, tear it up right now in front of me. That's a copyright violation. You can't use my character. I own it. So it doesn't, basically the copyright owners can let you get away with it if they want, but they don't have to let you get away with it. And it's really at this point not probably in their best interests to let Midjourney or whoever to reproduce their characters. So it's like, okay, now that's a new wrinkle. That is a copyright violation. So what does Midjourney have to do? What does Grok have to do? Do they have to go through and bar their system from producing those images of any copyrighted character? They probably do. Which makes it a lot less fun for people who want to do this kind of stuff. But there is such a thing as fair use for, say, parody. If I want to make a parody of Superman, can't I do that in Midjourney? Well, is Midjourney going to be able to tell if it's a parody or not? To be safe, they're probably just going to have to say, nope, can't do it at all. So that's going to be an interesting wrinkle moving forward on that. We'll see what happens, but my guess is that since they do let a lot of people do like fan art and stuff like that, and even sell it without kicking up a fuss. I mean, it depends on how far you go and how you do it. But since they do, and they're going after these guys, well, it could possibly be because the rate at which these systems can produce these images, far outstrips what human artists can do. And therefore, it is a real threat to their copyright. Or it's because they're trying to get something back from these AI systems. Hey, we got you over a barrel here for a moment. Let's cut a deal. Now, I think probably the Midjourneys of the world will just go ahead and, I don't know, like put in a whole host of words. God, that'll probably be a massive amount of work. Although, I don't know, maybe you could use AI to generate a list of every single copyrighted character, currently that there is in existence. Right? And say, you're not allowed to do anything with these names in the prompt at all. We'll see. But I thought that was at least kind of interesting because it was coming from a different angle that my guess is they don't have any leg to stand on in terms of this is a copyright violation. Superman, Batman, Popeye, you name it. Although, what about like super old Popeye that might be in the public domain? What about trademark? Is it a trademark violation? If it's a public domain character, but somebody has the trademark, is that a violation? Can you specifically train the AI to only work off of what is in the public domain? I don't know, man. It gets complicated, but I don't think, I'll be honest, I don't think the impact of this stuff on art, on pop culture, is going to be in any way good. I just don't. I don't think it is. So I'm kind of delighted to see it getting attacked. I don't think it's good. And frankly, I don't think the tech companies have anybody's best interests at heart except their own. So I think they're frankly a bunch of screw artists when you get right down to it. And I'd like to see them get slapped back a little bit. The other thing I saw that I thought was kind of interesting, maybe. What was this in the Hollywood? Was it Hollywood Reporter? I can't even read the screen. It's so friggin' small. I don't know. Any rate, Knight Rider. So I guess Cobra Kai's creators are going to make a Knight Rider movie for Universal. All right. I mean, maybe. Although movies and TV shows, very different. These guys have shown they can make a successful TV show. Does that mean they can make a successful movie? Not necessarily. You'd be surprised. It's a very different process. It's a different flow. It may not work. But Knight Rider, I mean, you could maybe do something fun with it, right? High-tech car, etc. Dude, if you set it in the 80s, it'd probably be, honestly, even more fun. And some stuff would make more sense. But apparently, the rumor is they want to take this a little bit further and make are you ready for it, boys and girls? A cinematic universe that will also include Airwolf and the $6 billion man. Million's not enough anymore. It's got to be a $6 billion man. I mean, remake problems aside, and again, it's like they're fun properties. You could do something decent with them if you wanted to, but we all know a lot of crap tends to get stuck to these old properties when they make the leap to modern day. In other words, they tend to make crap movies out of these old properties, but potentially could be good. I mean, and you could do such a thing, but 10-year-old me hearing this would be like, oh, that's awesome. 50-year-old me is like going, could you maybe not ruin it? Please? Could you stop ruining everything? Because, one of the worst things about this is, like, once this damn movie gets made, let's assume it's going to be horrible, just garbage, right? Fine. Anytime that I go online now and search for Knight Rider, that's what I'm going to find. 800 references to the new movie that maybe nobody liked, and I got to scroll to find the actual TV show that was very popular that I'm interested in. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I keep saying what I would really love would be like a way in search engines to like check mark a box that says I'm old. And that means I don't care about the new version of whatever this is. I'm old. I just want to see the old stuff. Don't show me the new stuff. I don't care. You could uncheck it if you wanted to look up something new. But anyhow, so that's the idea. God, another cinematic universe. And like, it all comes back to Marvel doing well with a cinematic universe, right? But if gotta be honest, that was a long time ago. That was a long time ago that they put together a cinematic universe that worked. They haven't been able to do very well with it themselves now. Universal tried to do the monster stuff in a cinematic universe. It did not work. DC has had nothing but trouble in doing this kind of stuff. And I don't think their current efforts are going to maybe go that well. I don't know yet. I mean, it depends. Well, of course, it also depends on how big of an audience you're trying to reach with it. And if they're happy with getting a smaller audience, then okay, they're fine. But typically, when you're putting this much effort into something, you want to get a bigger return. And you really do need to put a big effort into it, because what worked with Marvel was that they kind of had this plan. And it wasn't so set in stone that they couldn't be a little bit flexible with it. But they kind of had this plan for those opening phases of how things were going to work and how the bigger storyline was going to build. We're going to put hints to it here and here and here, and then we're going to launch it here, and then we're going to and then we're going to put the next segment in. It was very planned out what they want to do. And it now seems like, dude, these people don't even plan out a freaking movie, let alone a series of films. They're talking with this doomsday thing of like, well, we've had people in doing some photography for some scenes, and but we haven't actually written the whole movie yet, so we'll probably have to bring people back in later. It seems like what they'll do is they'll film the action scenes and then try to figure out how they connect later on. And look, the movies they're producing tend to be a kind of a mishmash and don't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. I was thinking about this the other day. Thinking about the way they do these action scenes first, and I'm going, and you know, stay with me here. A long time ago, in the 70s, pretty much, well, late 60s, but into the 70s, the folks who made dirty movies started getting pretty ambitious with those dirty movies. And instead of just doing like these little weird things, like maybe in, you know, the Betty Page days, they were trying to make actual films, like full-length feature films that happen to have sex in them, right? And that became kind of a model that they worked with. When I was younger, I worked at a video store that had a large adult section. We had to go in there about once a week and do an inventory and straighten all the shelves. So like I have a fairly good knowledge, at least, of the existence of a lot of dirty movies. And they did tend to be kind of like the full-length feature concept. I mean, most of them would have fallen into the B or C category of film quality, but that's kind of what they went for, right? And they did do some stuff that were just little scene snippet things. I remember the one that was like a whole series were called Swedish Erotica. Once upon a time, Sweden was intimately connected as a word, as a place, with, you know, dirty movies. Well, over time, and now like we're in the streaming era, you know, pretty much what they try to do is just film more or less a scene, right? They don't try to do like a full-length feature film. It's expensive, and frankly, that's not what their audience for dirty movies is really interested in. They're not really that interested in dialogue and, you know, a story that you could follow. And I was going, I'll bet Marvel wishes, or Disney or whoever wishes, that they could just film the big action fight scenes for these movies and not have to do a story. Let's just film a scene where it's Iron Man and Captain America fighting against Doctor Doom, and we'll make it look really cool, and we'll release that like on, you know, whatever, YouTube, Instagram, X, I don't know, wherever they could release it and earn like advertising dollars. And that's it. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to make fight scenes from now on. Now, I don't know that that's all audiences want to see, though. I think that's all they want to make. It's easy. It's easy to do that stuff. I mean, if you were, if you're like a young artist and you're trying to make a short film, you might even want to just focus on something like that because it's relatively easy. You don't have to worry about characterization. You don't have to worry about plot. You know, have a good action scene, some good fight choreography, throw in a few one-liners, and you're done, right? And so I'm like, oh, I think Marvel, the MCU, probably wishes it could go the way of the dirty movie industry and just get rid of all the story and get rid of all the attempts at characterization and just go for the action. Okay, I know. My brain works in weird ways, but there you have it, folks. But that's kind of what I have for news stories, pop culture news stories for the week. Obviously, there's some really disturbing, or at least angering stories that are out there right now that I'm not covering here because that's not what it's for. Although that's not to say those stories are not important, but we're trying to stick to the entertainment and pop culture here in Dad's Den. Let's look at some new pickups that I got. Dollar bin type stuff. Although not this. Well, let's take Michael Knight down from there. Bye-bye, Mike. Action Comics. New facsimile came out. This is Action Comics number 23. Why number 23? What was the point of number 23? Well, the point of that is that it's the introduction of Luthor. Mr. Luthor. Who, there he is, who actually kind of looks a little bit like Guy Gardner. He wasn't bald yet. Whoops, there we go. Wasn't a bald guy yet. But he was a sort of mad scientist type. That's what they mostly put Superman up against. Batman kind of transitioned into fighting supervillains, for lack of a better term, a little quicker than Superman did, which I think is kind of interesting. Given the fact Superman has superpowers and Batman does. I mean, okay, Batman wasn't necessarily fighting superpowered villains, but at least weird, interesting villains. He gets the Joker at the end of his first year, and Catwoman. Gets Penguin not that long after. Scarecrow comes in Clayface, but it's the original Clayface. It's just essentially Lon Chaney making himself up and murdering people, even though his name was based on Boris Karloff's. But at any rate, Superman, eventually gets the Ultra Humanite, who is not the white gorilla dude that you see in like the Justice League Unlimited, but it's a guy who frankly looks a lot like, Dr. Sivana or even Lex Luthor, old bald scientist who makes incredible things. And he shows up a few times. Luthor gets in there. You also get, let's see, what else is in this book? Pep Morgan. You forget that these things were anthologies. The Black Pirate by Sheldon Moldoff, who will draw the vast majority of Batman well into the 1960s. I mean, if you want to talk about who the Batman artist is, a lot of people will talk about Dick Sprang, and there were some great artists, obviously, would come, but Sheldon Moldoff did about 90% of that work. We got Tex Thompson. I mean, think about it. We're like 2 years into Superman, and we're about a year past the introduction of Batman. And most of these strips are not superheroes, though they did have other magazines. You pretty much always got some print, Spy's Return, and I don't know this for sure, I think the print stories in these things were had something to do maybe with the classification of the magazines. This is me trying to steady my camera. There we go. So that they maybe went under a different magazine rate for the Postal Service. I think that might have something to do with it. If you look at the old Captain America's, which I'm going to do a video on his first year in publication pretty soon. Boy, there was a lot of material too. Captain America magazine was like all Captain America with one story about a dude who was like a super speedster at the end. When I dove into it, I'm like going, oh yeah, there'll be like a Captain America story in each of these, like 12 magazines. No, there were like 3 or 4 in each one. I was like, holy crap, this is going to take me forever. But at any rate, they also had a prose story in each of them, written by this young upstart named Stan Lee, who, used to probably pester Kirby and Simon. There we go. Zatara, the Master Magician. So old Zatara was in Action Comics back in the day. Pretty decent art in Zatara too. Which actually brings up another thing. This is a magazine that I bought from the 50-cent bin not too long ago. I showed these off in an earlier video, but I'm finally reading them. I got to their point in my stack of comics to read. And so the main story is about, obviously, Korak, who is the son of Tarzan, written by, I think it was Kanigher, art by, story Robert Kanigher, art Murphy Anderson. Okay. So that's like the feature for each of these, is Korak. Now the backup story, also Edgar Rice Burroughs, is Carson of Venus, which was sort of an attempt to recapture the John Carter of Mars genie in a bottle. And so now you look at that and you're like, not the greatest art in the world. I mean, it's I've seen worse, but I've seen a lot better. But if you look at who did this, if we can get it close enough and I can get the angle right, there we go. It's Mike Kaluta. Mike Kaluta doing the art on this. So this is from 1974. So it's very early. And the reason I bring it up is that I think most of us would look at Mike Kaluta as being one of the greats of comic book art. His shadow stuff is freaking incredible. But it's worth remembering that at one point, his art was not super awesome. He was young. He was new. He was learning. So if you are a younger person out there who's trying to get into comic book art and stuff like that, work, you know, I think maybe your best bet when you start out is to publish a free webcomic. You know, short, maybe a 5-page stories, right? Start learning the craft and learn the craft, okay? You may be able to draw a pretty decent pinup image of a character. That ain't storytelling in a comic book. Read a lot of old stuff. Look at who the masters are. Look at those things like the, 20 whatever panels that never fail and stuff like that, and learn how you tell a story. But, start with short stories and put them out there for free. Put yourself out there for criticism. It could be nasty because there's some shitty people online, but you might also get some good criticism. But the point is, work. And as you do, you're going to get better and better and better and better. And when you get your stuff up to a better level, that's probably when you want to maybe say, maybe I'm going to try a crowdfunding thing because I got my story chops down a little better. Maybe you've expanded your stories from 5 to 7 and then 11 and then whatever, getting into the 20-page range, right? So my story chops are a little bit better than they were. My art's better than it was. I can tell a story, the flow works, etc. Now it might be worthwhile to ask for money for this story. Because I can imagine a lot of younger people trying to jump into that too quickly and then getting really disappointed and discouraged if the thing doesn't go. And all that time you're doing this stuff, promote on social media, X, whatever, the gram, Facebook, wherever you can be, so that you can build up a rapport with people. You go, well, I'm not really very good. You need to get good at it, because in the old days, Marvel Comics, right? They're doing the promotion for you. They're doing the printing for you. They're doing the delivery, the distribution for you. They're doing the editing for you, right? You talk about how they didn't pay artists and writers enough. Yeah, I know, but you got to understand they also did a lot of work for them. They did screw their creators. They did, no doubt about it. But I'm sure a lot of folks who worked in the system and were probably cheesed about it here and there, who are now doing crowdfunds and have to do everything themselves, there's a little bit of them going, oh boy, I didn't realize how much work some of this stuff was. I bet they still prefer owning their characters and having the freedom, but it's a lot of work, man. And you got to get good at it. It's not enough to just be like, I'll send these things out when I get, no. You got to be good at distribution and keeping lists of all the people. And you've got to be making mailing lists and keeping in contact. And you've got to be good at promoting yourself online if you're going to make a go at this stuff. If you're just going to do it as a lark for fun, go ahead. But if you're trying to take money and build something and get up in levels and maybe even get a gig at like one of the comic book companies at some point, it's going to be a lot of work that you're going to have to put into that stuff. You might as well start early on figuring out what it's going to take and building those skills, because you can build those skills. Same as you could build the skill at drawing, you can build a skill for promotion online. You can build a skill of communicating with people online. For example, I'm an introvert. I don't really like being big gatherings and stuff like that. Smaller, okay. But I even around friends and family, if there's a lot of people, I'll tend to clam up a little bit, right? But I had an opportunity at one point at work to get out there and do some stuff, speaking in front of crowds and speaking to reporters and doing interviews. And it was a good opportunity. It meant, frankly, more money. It meant being better known, etc. It helped me in my career. And I just went, I did it. I just did it. I'm like, maybe it hit me at the right age of like, I'm going to just try this. I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. And maybe I'll fall on my face. And I had to learn the skill. And it is a skill. When you're talking to the press, it's a skill that you don't say something embarrassing that's going to look bad for the company you work for. You got to learn how to answer questions in a diplomatic way. Now I'm taking some of that and I do these little videos and I get on and I talk and hopefully it seems like I'm pretty natural with doing it. But it's a skill that you build, you learn, and you got to just go for it. Even if it makes you uncomfortable, do it anyways, and you'll get better at it. And when I have gotten up in front of large crowds of people, maybe a couple hundred people, so not like, we're not talking stadiums, right? But large crowds, I sort of go into presentation mode, which is not necessarily who I really am. But now I am presenter. And I get up there and I tell a couple little jokes, which I do like to, tell jokes and make smart ass remarks. A little bit of that. Go over the data that I have to present to people and the arguments I'm going to make, answer questions. And I'm on stage. And then when I'm done is where I like to go sit in my car and, okay, all right, I'm done. I can relax now. And even after I do these live streams, right? Because that's a little different than recording. Recording I can edit. Here I can't edit. When I do the live streams, when I'm done with it, I go sit out on the couch and sort of just chill for a while and maybe watch a movie. Because it's like your energy level, you have to have a heightened level of awareness when you're doing this kind of stuff. What you're saying, you've got to be thinking and talking almost, but you do got to put some thought into it so you don't say something horrific or stupid that's embarrassing. And it's like your brain is like engaged, man. And when you're done, it's like, oh, it almost feels like you just went out and ran a 5K. Anyhow, God, that was a total, that came out of nowhere, kind of. But Mike Kaluta, his art was not that great when he started. If your art is not that great, practice. I don't know that you'll become as great as Mike Kaluta, but you will become better. So, what are some books I picked up? Batman, Doug Minch, Jim Aparo, Joseph Rubinstein. That's obviously a Kelly Jones cover. I've been trying to grab some of those later Batman issues. And I also got a detective from similar era, Dixon, Lieber, and I can't read who the inker is. It's underneath there. That almost looks like the all in black Batman, but it's not. It's just very dark. But I think the dude he's next to, I want to say that dude showed up in some of the Robin stuff. So I picked a couple of those up, but I'm trying to be better about hitting series that I specifically want to collect and complete. And maybe in a couple cases, it's so I can do some videos on it and then I might let them go. But I'm trying not to be like too scattershot in what I pick up. And so I ran over to one of my LCSs on my own, and I found a bunch of stuff. That was actually stuff I was collecting. So little Cloak and Dagger from both the limited series and their first series that they had. The second series is Cloak and Dagger. It's like Mutant Misadventures of Cloak and Dagger. So, series that I really dig. I think this is the last issue of it. Issue 11. I always felt like the biggest problem for Cloak and Dagger was that they feel to me like they belong more. I know. They feel more like they belong in the DC universe than the Marvel universe in some ways. I think they would have meshed better with it. There's like a Spectre sort of feel to Cloak. but they've done pretty good at meshing them into Marvel over the years. Also picked up a couple more Justice League Europes. To round out that, I actually am just, I think, one issue away from pretty much having what I want of Justice League Europe. I might round out the rest of it at some point, but I know I need one more issue that I'm going to want to review later this year on Justice League Monday. West Coast Avengers, which that was one of the first series I collected way back when. Al Milgrom art in the early years. We got Iron Man in his Silver Centurion armor. Mockingbird was one of my first comic book crushes that I had. There's one of the giant-sized annuals. The classic one set of heroes on the ground, defeated, possibly dead. It's not going to be the case when we actually read the book, but and the other one standing. The thing, though, that gets me about some of these, because I mentioned talking about old comic books and what it suggests about the current comic market, right? So here's a who's who, which I actually was able to fill out. I think I might need one more issue for that. This is from May of '85. It's about when I got into it. Now you see the price on it is $1. $1 to buy this comic back in 1985. And you see the little price tag. Like I said, it was a dollar bin. The price now is $1. Now, that is not how inflation works, okay? So what it means is, if we were to put this dollar that I spent, if we were to adjust for inflation, let's see if I can bring the CPI calculator up. I don't know if I have it. Yeah, I do have it. Okay. So a dollar in 1985 would translate in 2025 into about $3, right? So the dollar has basically lost, what would it be, like 60% of its value over those years. And that's how that works, by the way. It's not stuff is becoming more expensive. It's the dollars we're using are becoming less valuable because the government is printing more of them, okay? Each dollar is like a fraction of the value of our gross domestic product. You can almost think of it that way. And so if GDP is going up at a good clip, you could print more dollars and they'll retain their value. But if you're printing money faster than your economy is growing, or faster than your productivity is growing, you're reducing the value of each of those dollars. It's what they used to do in the ancient world with real money, right? You had like silver coins. That was the primary medium of exchange. Don't believe Dungeons and Dragons. It wasn't gold pieces. It was silver pieces. And what a government would do is, they were never pure silver. There was always other stuff in there, right? What they would do is they would basically call in silver coins, turn in your silver coins, and they had complete power. They could do whatever they wanted. Of course, people could hide it, but right, and they would, but they turn in their silver money. And the government would take that money and melt it down, and they would add lead. They could add some copper to it, whatever. They would add other things to the metal. So now, let's say they gathered in 100 pieces of silver. They could now mint 200 pieces of silver, okay? And they could give that 100 back to the people who turned it in, and now they have 100 of coins of their own, right? But the value of those coins is less because it's not silver anymore. It's less silver content. And ancient nations could potentially devalue their coinage quite a bit. Problem was, if you're a merchant and you're going overseas or you're going to another marketplace, right? They know that the coin's been devalued. So now when you go in, your silver coin to them is maybe worth half a silver coin, or if we talk about dollars right now, a third of a dollar. So these books, if they were retaining their value, should be about $3, not $1. Certainly not 50 cents. So why are they? Well, it suggests, and we kind of know this is the case, it's a much smaller market for comic books nowadays. There are more than enough of these old comic books, not necessarily the keys, which are heavily collected, but there are more than enough of these comic books to go around for the people who are interested, not just in comic books, but in old comic books as well. But a big part of it is just there aren't that many comic book readers anymore for these kind of American comics as there used to be. We've not kept pace. We're a smaller percentage of the population than we were 50 years ago. At this point, damn near 100 years ago. Not quite 100, but close. Golden Age books used to sell pretty damn big. Like I said, I got that one was it Crime Does Not Pay, I think. And on the header, 6 million copies a month they were selling. 6 million a month. I don't think there's a comic book right now that could sell 6 million a month. Maybe manga, not American comic books. They ain't getting anywhere near 6 million a month. Nowhere near that kind of. So that's why when you go, it's awesome in a way. Like I got rid of these. I bought these comics back in the day for $1, and I'm buying them now for 30 cents. Kind of cool in a way, but kind of sad too. But I grabbed X Factors. Good stuff. I liked X Factor. I know it had its critics for sure. I enjoyed it. Kind of went to a weird place. There we got X Factor fighting the Avengers. I like that though. I mean, I guess Cyclops' optic blast is, could challenge Thor, but if Thor just used that other hand of his, he could knock Cyclops into another zip code probably. Here we have, it's amazing how many mutant crossovers they did with Asgard. Like, you wouldn't necessarily think the two would go together, but really from an early time period they did. And the New Mutants were heavily involved with Asgard. Storm at one point was, sort of becoming a female Thor. Great cover on this one. Jean Grey. Divided We Fall, Judgment War Part 5. So that's the old stuff that I picked up. I know everybody talks about New Comic Day, and it occurred to me, I'm like, for me, it's actually like Old Comic Book Day, because I'm typically picking up, if they're newly printed, they're facsimiles. And other than that, I'm hitting the 50-cent bin or the dollar bin, or maybe going through the stacks. If there's like particular ones I need to round out, I'll pay more, But yeah, if I can find stuff for $1, I'll find stuff for $1. All right, man. So there's that. The other new thing I got in the den, Lucy Van Pelt, Hungerford Peanuts. You could see some Hungerford Peanuts back there. Charlie Brown, Linus, Snoopy, and Schroeder. The Linus and Schroeder I had as a kid, and I didn't, they were just like these vinyl kind of squeak toys that I'd had since I was a baby. I knew nothing about them. And then I happened upon them on the Goodwill auction site, and I'm like, oh, Hungerford. Oh, that's what they're called. Looked into it. Okay, well, I went ahead and I've gotten the Charlie Brown, the Lucy, and the Snoopy to round out the collection. There's 2 more than I need. I need Sally, Charlie Brown's little sister. She's a baby in that version from when because these were released in the 50s. And I need Pigpen. But Sally and Pigpen will typically go for more in the $300 to $400 range. And I ain't paying the $300 or $400 for those. So Lucy I got for $30. I think Charlie Brown was about 30. There we go. We can put her in the corner there. Nobody puts Lucy in a corner. The Snoopy I paid about 54. They're a little bit harder to get a hold of, and he's actually got a flaw. They'll usually go more in the 150 range, 100 to 150. He's got a little damage to one leg, but it was fine. It looks fine on the shelf, so it's good enough for me. So I went ahead and grabbed him. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to round out that collection. I'd like to. It'd be fun, but expensive. Let's talk coming attractions, boys and girls. We got a few and a couple really cool ones, frankly. Pete Samedi has launched on Fund My Comic and Kickstarter King Cryptid number 10 through 13 and the Blood Moon graphic novel that will cross over King Cryptid with Blood Realm. I was talking about Blood Realm a few live streams ago. Robert Geronimo's work, very cool stuff. I was like, I don't know. Then I gradually got into it, and it really grabbed me. So I've been collecting both those books. The King Cryptids are really good and would be great for kids. There's one that's a really kind of a rough story, like it's a kind of a little heartbreaker, but I think kids could handle it. Kids in the old days were able to handle stuff like that. Hell, kids in the old days were buying EC comics and all sorts of blood and guts and crazy stuff. Of course, those kids became the boomers, and they're all a little bit weird, so maybe that wasn't a good thing. But yeah, so I'm going to definitely pull in on these because I've been collecting them, and I'd like to keep up with that collection. So they're live now. You can back those right now. There's digital, there's physical. I think the digital ones are, I don't remember what their cost now. I don't want to say what the digital would cost because I don't remember and I could get it wrong. Okay. So Halloween decorations are showing up as we're moving into spooky season. I'm already prepping videos that I'm going to do in October, doing werewolf movies, and a werewolf cartoon. So I've been prepping those, kind of jumping the gun, but I'm like anxious to do it because I've had them planned all year long. But Christmas also not that far away. Jada Toys, Frosty the Snowman. This is a 1/12 scale figure, now up for pre-order. He comes with Hocus Pocus the Rabbit. We're talking Rankin Bass, of course, the old classic cartoon all us Gen X kids watched every year. Dude, you were like chomping at the bit for these specials. You got them once a year, no streaming, didn't even have them VHS back in the day. Once a year, you missed it for 365 days. So they loom large in our legend. $50 for this set. It's a little steep for me, but $50. The delivery is set for October 2025, so plenty of time for Christmas if you want to get them for somebody who loves Christmas or you want to use them like as decorations. You should get them by that time. Of course, for some people, October 2025, day after Halloween, is when they want to start putting up Christmas decorations. I've been fighting a losing battle with my wife over the years of like, do not disrespect Thanksgiving. It's a great holiday. She's like, I don't care. My wife would have Christmas decorations up all year long. She'd maybe take them down for Halloween at most. So the X account, Action Fig is what that account is called. They posted some images, and these aren't like from Hasbro. They weren't images they took themselves, but just in case you want to follow the account, Action Fig, reveal of the Super Skrull figure from the New York Comic Con. Looks pretty cool. I kind of like it. You can buy it at the con, apparently. And then afterwards at Hasbro Pulse while limited supplies last. So if you are a big fanboy of the Super Skrull, you might want to look back or look for that if you're not going to be going to that convention. I talked a while back about Shout Studios getting licensed to some really rad Hong Kong movies, movies made in Hong Kong. HighDefDiscNews.com, they're on X. You could also obviously go to their website. Has reported that A Better Tomorrow trilogy is now up for pre-order in 4K at Amazon. 3 movies, obviously a trilogy with extras. This is in 4K, like I said, $100. So we're getting into some cool stuff here. If you've never watched some of the, Show Yun Fat movies, John Woo directed, that kind of stuff, Dude, they're a revelation in terms of action. Friggin' amazing. What are the two big ones? Like the assassin, and I'm blanking on him. Look up John Woo, Hong Kong. If you like the movies he did in the United States with Travolta and was it Nick Cage? Go see the stuff that he did in Hong Kong. It's, in my opinion, significantly better. I know some people disagree about that, but that's my take. Also, another tip from highdefdiscnews.com, The Beastmaster. Oh, one of the HBO classics from my childhood. I swear, back in the day, you turned on HBO in the middle of the day, you're probably watching, The Beastmaster, I don't know, Ice Pirates, Cannonball Run, The Big Red One. Those are the ones I remember. There were a few that they played a lot of. Beastmaster is one of those, and that blew our minds, dude. So, pre-order now at Amazon for $40 in 4K. It is shipping in November. So hopefully in time for Thanksgiving, with the family, because families love to gather around and watch The Beastmaster. It's just, it's tradition. Now, I know a lot of you guys are right now thinking, Tanya Roberts in 4K. That's okay, right? But remember, you're also going to be getting a whole lot of Mark Singer in 4K as well. So just be prepared. There's going to be a lot of skin in this thing, and it's going to be in high def. So gird your loins for battle. From the crossovers you didn't know you needed and probably don't departments, Archie is doing a crossover with Army of Darkness. Now, they do a lot of weird crossovers now at Archie. I'll give them this, though. Archie Comics has stayed viable, man. They are putting stuff out. They're getting a movie ready. Archie Comics has stayed extremely viable in the 2020s. It's amazing because most of these characters come from the 1940s. They've done kind of the same thing that MCU has done. Obviously, Archie used to mostly be basically pinup girls and dad jokes, which to me sounds pretty damn good, entertainment-wise, but they've expanded and they do all sorts of stuff for younger audiences. They've done pretty damn well for themselves. So Archie with Army of Darkness, it's a joint venture between Archie Comics and Dynamite. I don't know, maybe seeing Ash score with Veronica will make it all worthwhile. We'll have to see. But that's just basically been announced, so there's no details on it. There's no preliminary artwork, anything like that. All right, here's some stuff that's just pretty damn rad. And one of these was a late entry. I literally saw it about 15 minutes before I was supposed to be doing all this stuff. So McFarlane, pre-order coming up September 17th at select retailers. So, you could be looking at their website. Usually they'll post something like on X with links to the different retailers. Start clicking them, find the one that has it in stock, right? You got to sometimes be quick. Depends. Dr. Midnight. And dude, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. It is a really nice sculpt. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can get a better view of it. So Dr. Midnight, part of their DC Multiverse line. Now, I don't know price-wise. I assume it's going to be like other stuff from this line that they do. Man, that looks really, really, really good. And it's going to be a hard one to resist if I am going to resist. Now, we're going to look at another McFarlane one in just a minute, but first, and this is going to definitely be more expensive than the McFarlane action figures. From Mondo's Masters of the Universe line, She-Ra, 1/6 scale action figure, arriving October 2025. Dude, this is a really impressive sculpt. It looks really good. Maybe it's just me. I'm seeing a little bit of Margot Robbie in that face. Just a little bit there. It doesn't look exactly like what you got in the Filmation cartoon, but pretty close. Now this, though, very nice looking sculpt, right? Yeah, for $230. So You got to take that into account. But that's, like I said, arriving October 2025. You can go pre-order this one right now for slightly less money. They just announced this one today from McFarlane. Batgirl classic gray costume with the blue cape. And looks like it looks like mixed media. I think I can't tell if the hair is rooted. I don't think the hair is rooted. But damn, it looks good. That's a really good sculpt on the face, too. They're losing the DC license. I'm not sure when exactly the shift is going over. I think Mattel's getting it. But they're putting out a couple really nice figures here towards the end of their license. This is definitely one I'm going to get. That's fantastic. And it's a character I really like. The pre-order for this one, September 18th. So Dr. Midnight on the 17th, Batgirl on the 18th at select retailers. So again, keep your eyes open and you'll get it or you won't get it. Couple indie crowdfunder comics I wanted to show off this week that caught my eye. First and foremost, David Hartman's Monster Drive-In. Now that's going to be a series. Monster Drive-In is going to be a series, hopefully. Retro horror comic. If you like Brian Baugh's Wolf and Batsy, similar style to the art, similar vibe. I believe they're friends because I think I saw it because Baugh tweeted it out. So this is his first crowdfund and hopefully not his last. The first story is called Isle of Evil. 104 pages, full color, hardcover, signed for $40. The soft cover for $30. I'm not sure if that one is signed or not. That is not a bad price for 104 pages in full color, frankly. That's not bad at all. And I know the quality is going to be there. The story is set in the 1980s. A group of college girls and a grizzled boat captain head off to a party island only to discover voodoo, murder, and mad science. Now, this is it's going to be gory. And if you've ever seen Hartman's art, his horror art, you can find it online. It used to be on DeviantArt. I think that's where I first saw it. It's where I first saw Brian Baugh's stuff too. It's gory. It's in that category. We're not talking old Universal black and white horror, but really good, very stylized, very good. You might want to check this out. If you're a horror fan, you might want to really give this one a look. Again, it is on... Oh, crap. I don't think I wrote it down. I want to say Kickstarter. Damn it. I make notes and sometimes I leave stuff out. Any rate, go look for it. Do a search. You'll find it. It's the internet, for crying out loud. My wife is now letting me know she's a Pep Boys. Good to know. It's not a very active chat today, but that's okay. The other one that caught my eye, from Daniel M. Benson and Artyom Trakhanov, Sharp Eye #1. The art in this thing looks really friggin' good. It's going to be 48 pages, coming out December 2025, so pretty soon. $5 digital, $15 for a physical copy. Okay, for 48 pages, that's not bad for online kind of crowdfunding stuff. And again, I didn't write down. I want to say these are on. I'm pretty sure both of them are on Kickstarter. I'm pretty sure. Here is the description of what you're going to get in this thing, and there's another image at some of the art. In the far hothouse future, a holy man heeds the call of an ancient sunken treasure. This long-buried secret could reshape the covenant between earth and sky, and the powers of the world want it for themselves. A zealous priest will kill to keep this weapon hidden, while a merchant princess would wield its might against heaven itself. Above them all, the enigmatic divas watch. That's Devas, not divas as in, obnoxious singers. The divas watch their cosmic judgment poised to fall. The art looks absolutely spectacular in this thing. I think probably makes it worth backing, period, just for that alone. And again, $5 for a digital, if you just want to check it out, that is not bad at all. All right. And we've been going an hour here. The time flies. Do a couple mini reviews, and then we'll call this one a day. I finished reading. Let me take that down. Oh, okay. Finished reading Tarzan of the Apes. Now, this is the art's Bern Hogarth, and of course, this is old. This is, as you can tell, it's a little torn up. When did they publish this, dude? 1972. God, year I was born. Wow. Sucker's as old as me. It's probably in better shape than I am, too. Bern Hogarth had already essentially retired from drawing Tarzan. He'd done the Tarzan comic strip for a really long time. They brought him back in to do this. This is an adaptation of the Tarzan story written by Edgar Rice Burroughs. So it's about his formation. You can see the art. It's really big panels. And I'm picking this art from the back because this is where Tarzan had gotten his, well, it looks more like, briefs here, but basically his loincloth. Much of the story is when Tarzan was a boy being raised by apes, and so he did not wear any clothing. And I mean, they do it in such a way that, it ain't Peacemaker, I'll put it that way. But the art is really quite astounding. Let me even bring it in just closer if we can get a good, yeah. The art is absolutely astounding. And I'd never actually read the first Tarzan book. I was pretty well aware of it, and I've read some of the later ones. But it was kind of fun to actually read the story. If you've only seen the Disney movie, you do not know the Tarzan story. They changed quite a bit for it. It is a brutal story. Sorry, thought I was losing Lucy there for a minute. Thought she was going to fall over. It's a brutal story. It's the wilderness. It's the apes. Keep in mind, he's raised not by gorillas. He's raised by apes called the Mangani, who are more intelligent than gorillas, but not as intelligent as a human being. And they look a little different. So if you're going, they didn't really draw gorillas that well. No, they weren't drawing gorillas. Although there is a scene in here with the Mangani going after a gorilla, and it's brutal. It's a brutal story. Amazing. Again, this is the kind of stuff kids used to read back in the day. We worry so much nowadays. But there were also themes in it of heroism and learning right from wrong and things of that nature that I think kind of blunt the impact of some of the more brutal stuff. Kind of like, yeah, the world's rough, but we're human beings and we could do better. Other thing I wanted to talk about that I watched last Sunday, actually, this was my chill out after the live stream viewing, Night of the Comet. I've never seen this one before. I've heard people talk about it a lot. It showed up for free on YouTube, so I'm like, dude, strike while the iron's hot and watch this thing. It's kind of become a cult hit. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Apparently, the main character in it, you see her right in the middle there, apparently she was an inspiration for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, you will see it, I've seen it characterized as Valley Girls versus zombies. If you're going into it looking for like Night of the Living Dead, you're going to be disappointed. It ain't that kind of zombie thing. And yeah, it's okay, it's technically they're girls from the valley, but they're not, oh my God, talking like this, gag me with a spoon. Really? They're not doing that. So yeah, Valley, the fact of the matter is both of them, they're a pair of sisters, are pretty friggin' rad. Very likable characters. You see the guy there, that is, if you know your Star Trek Voyager, that is Chakotay. And he's really good in it too. I always kind of laughed because as Chakotay, I don't feel like they ever, I don't know. I don't think they really used him to his fullest. Some of the Star Trek ones, if you look at Star Trek, the original series, you got Kirk is your principal. right? He's your lead. Now, because Nimoy was so good at Spock, he becomes kind of a co-lead. But so he's maybe just like that much below Kirk in terms of character usage. And then you can expand it to the big three, which is McCoy, he gets less usage than Kirk and Spock. And then Scotty is a little further down. And then you have the rest of the cast, Sulu, Chekhov, Uhura and stuff. And they'll get their moments to shine, but, they don't try to get a lot of use out of them for every episode. And it seems like later iterations have tried to balance it more between the characters, which can sometimes be hard. And certain characters, I think, kind of get left behind. And I always felt like Chakotay got a little bit left behind. Riker kind of did too at a certain point when they basically, because it was supposed to be Picard's the old wise captain and Riker is the action-packed dude, the two sides of Kirk split apart. And what they found out was it really doesn't work that well. And so they started letting Picard be more action Picard. And then Riker sort of becomes the guy who, he's like sort of the assistant manager of the Enterprise. But I think, Frakes wanted to direct, so I don't think he cared that much. And he just like, yeah, go ahead. That's fine. That's fine. I'll direct and you guys, do whatever you want with Riker. But yeah, but here, good. I liked him in this movie. He was great. The story's got some really good twists in it. I didn't see one of them honestly coming. And afterwards you're like, oh yeah, okay. I guess I should have seen that. So they did a good job setting it up. But I liked it. So if you've never watched it, give it a look. I think you might enjoy it. It is not super gory horror. It's probably got as much kind of action adventure as it does horror. There's some comedy, but it's not overdone comedy. It's a really nice blend, man. It just kind of works. And again, the lead characters are really, really awesome. This is a dog treat I just found in my pocket that I apparently did not throw to the dog while I was outside earlier. It's like, what is in my pocket? Okay, Night of the Comet, folks. That will do it for this Dad's Den of Pop Culture live stream. Hope you found something in it that you enjoyed. I have no idea if anybody is watching other than my wife. I hope she found something in it she enjoyed. Coming up this week in Dad's Den, Justice League Monday, we're going over Justice League America number 36, Justice League Europe number 12. We're in the 90s now. He's waiting for that treat. Yeah, he probably is too. On Wednesday, I'm going to do a little review of the 1979 Thing cartoon. I'm not talking about John Carpenter's Thing. I'm talking about the ever-loving, blue-eyed Thing, Ben Grimm. They made a really odd cartoon starring Ben Grimm in 1979. We're going to look at that, and I'm going to go over it. It's not bad, but it's odd. And then on Friday, this is something I've been working on for a little bit. It's a retrospective of Marvel Comics 70s into the 80s. I'm calling it Marvel, the House of Fads, and it's about all the comics they did that were tied to like a fad or a trend or a really popular bit of pop culture at the time. Truckers, bikers, the occult, disco, and not only just looking at what all these books were. It's like kind of we're going through covers. It's not deep reviews of all the books. It's a retrospective. But also looking at the way they tied all of it into the Marvel Universe. So that even though these fads kind of came and went, the books, the characters that they created, well, they kind of came and went a little bit too, but they keep coming back because there was something more solid to it. So, little retrospective. It should be a fun video. I still got to edit the thing. It was longer than I thought it was going to be when I started it because I'm like, oh, I know what I want to cover. These, 5 or 6 characters. And then I start doing my research and it's like, oh, shit, there's a lot more. Okay. Any rate, that's going to be on Friday. So hopefully I'll see you in Dad's Den at some point this week. And then, of course, next Sunday we'll do another live stream. This one is number 30. I've done 30 of these things. We're going to keep on going as long as I can keep on going. So I hope you have a blessed Sunday today. If you're having trouble, hope things get better. Go out there and get some help if you need it. Don't be afraid to. You are a valuable human being. You're worth it, man. Put the work in. Put the work in. Things can get better. I promise you that. But God bless everybody. I got a wow. I'm not sure what the wow is for. Okay. God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there, and I will hopefully see you again soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.